Hello everyone, welcome to URBONUS podcast. I'm the host Donatas URBONUS. I'm joined by Rytis Vyšniauskas. Hey Rytis, probably it's a good time to be a basketball fan right now, right? We have 2 Game 5s in the EuroLeague playoffs. We have all these dramas in the NBA playoffs. We have Kevin Durant in Europe watching the EuroLeague game and possibly coming to Piraeus Peace and Friendship Stadium. Also, we have John Holland barking on live TV in amazing EuroCup playoff series. I mean, it's just incredible, right?
John Holland's interview has to be the single best TV interview ever done in European basketball broadcasting history.
That's for sure. It should make a case for the NBA halftime
I think
interviews.
It should be even more viral than it is. Okay, in the NBA you have some personalities, let's say, and Greg Popovich in his usual one-word interviews and other coaches being funny players. There are a lot of players that joke in the press conferences, but if we're talking about Europe, usually it doesn't matter whether it's an American player or a European player. When it's a halftime interview, what you're going to get. We need to improve our defense. Rebounding was not really good enough. I think we need to hustle a little bit more in the second half. The physicality wasn't really there. We started pretty good. Then we kind of stopped in the second quarter. And now you have this.
Player barking at you.
John Holland.
I cannot imagine what that reporter was feeling, actually. You start the regular halftime interview and somebody starts barking at you.
If I'm a casual basketball fan in Europe, I don't even care about John Holland's game. Instantly, he's one of my favorite players.
Exactly.
When you do something like this on live television, man, people have to love you. John Holland, he's already a legend. It doesn't matter what he achieves in his career, he is already a legend. Even though
he's actually playing
they're
great
achieving
playoffs.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
With Bursaspor, they're
he saved
already
their
in the
season
semis.
in Belgrade, making the game tying shot at the buzzer, and then against Cedevita Olympia, he was super important. And actually, that video, at least on our BasketNews.com Twitter account, it went way more viral than KD's appearance in Monaco. So no, John Holland is a star.
Because they're not just dogs, they're pit bulls.
They're pit bulls. Not any dogs, pit bulls.
Actually, the game itself, the interview is crazy, but the game,
yes.
Jacob Pullen making that game winner, everybody goes crazy. They're celebrating. Then there's a review. The clock expired. The shot doesn't count. Bursaspor players start celebrating. It was such an amazing game. I was talking last week about how this knockout format is not really fair and I don't really appreciate it. But when you get dramas like this, you have to say that this game was really magic.
Yeah, and what's even more magic that Bursa and Andorra Morabanc now have a 50% of possibility of making the EuroLeague for the next year, which is crazy.
Andorra, in the meantime, are battling relegation in Liga Endesa. I think in history it's never happened like that.
We remember
second division
when
team
we had
play
Gran Canaria being very, very down in the standings in the ACB and at the same time competing in the EuroLeague. Yeah. There were some situations.
But now a team that is actually relegated and plays in the second division at the same time competing in the EuroLeague never happened. The only thing close I can imagine was Olympiacos when they quit the Greek championship and they only played in the EuroLeague, but that's a different case.
Political decision, and they were shareholders.
It's a different case, right? And if Andorra makes it,
I want John Holland
really
making
sure
it. I want Bursa playing in the EuroLeague and watching John Holland's post-game interview.
But man, John Holland can make it to the EuroLeague with Bursa or without Bursa. He was EuroLeague material even before.
Yeah, but he is getting old, isn't he like 33?
We were supposed to see him in the EuroLeage this season anyways.
He signed with
Unix, right?
He's 33. And he will be.
But
he
he's
will
a
turn
pit bull.
34. No,
he's a pit bull. It doesn't matter. The age doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's. Really exciting. As you said, it's really exciting to follow all this basketball action. It's the only frustration is that there's not enough time. 24 hours is probably not enough to experience everything. At the same time, having some quality sleep and quality time with your friends. because honestly, right now I would be more than happy to just stay behind closed doors and watch everything that's happening. As you said, the NBA, the second round already started. We had Draymond Green tossing Brandon Clark on the floor, being ejected,
doing a podcast straight after the game,
doing some circus in Memphis in FedEx Forum, then leaving the arena, coming back already from the shower to celebrate with his teammates this close victory they got. Yeah, it's great. It's honestly great, and I really enjoy also being back to work. As the last podcast we had on Zoom.
Here,
yeah. Now I'm back, and I'm happy to. I mean, I went home by train. We were in Vilnius at around 9 p.m. At 9:45, it was already Monaco, so I had to rush from the train station to our studio. At 9:30, I was already there. So it's not like I came back from vacation, had a night off, and went to work the other day. I went to work straight from the train station, but it was a great game, of course, Olympiacos Monaco, so I really I'm not complaining. But in your case, you didn't plan another trip to Barcelona, right?
My wife neither. Because when I told her that now in 2 days, these last couple of weeks were pretty intense. I went to Barca, then to Munich, and all combined, I was out of town like for 10 days or even more. And we have 5-month baby, newborn, and it's not easy to handle him if you're alone. For my wife, so she burst in tears when she realized that I will have to go for Game 5 in Barca. The same day I came back, she didn't know. She didn't understand when probably she saw somewhere that series were tied, but she didn't realize that I will have to go for the Game 5.
Can we say that she was the biggest Barca fan at the moment when they were playing Game 4?
She was just the biggest Game 4 fan, even it went Bayern's or Barca's way. So, but then after, on Thursday's night, she was Barca's fan.
It's really crazy schedule for you. You're leaving
tomorrow morning on a game day, and leaving the next day. I mean, both flights at 6 o'clock in the morning, which means I have to go to the airport at 4 in the morning. So it's crazy. So I'm just happy.
How was it in Munich? Are people excited at all about the EuroLeague playoffs?
They had 2 sold outs. Marko Pesic said that after the game 4, when they won it, he said that it was the greatest atmosphere he ever experienced in the Audi Dome. I've been around Europe for a while, and I were in better atmospheres, let's say. But for Munich is different. German people, they're more polite. They don't have that aggressive approach on watching games. They like beer a lot, and in Lithuania, for example, we cannot during COVID probably we weren't able to get some beer in the stands. There, I don't know what are the rules in Germany. Somebody said that you can drink beer since you're 16. I saw these kids drinking beer and enjoying basketball, so it was weird the experience for me.
Maybe it was non-alcoholic beer.
Probably.
Don't judge them.
Just like in the media room, we also had beer, but mostly alcohol free.
Yeah.
So it was interesting experience. Whole German experience was great. I had a lot of time to talk with Bayern's people. Either it was Marko Pesic or Andrea Trinchieri. They're doing some great job over there as I wouldn't say small market team. I would say low budget team. They have a different approach, and probably we will even discuss about it later. So very short preview for the EuroCup semifinals. We won't talk about it, although we will have a great game of Valencia and Virtus Bologna on Wednesday. 2 solid contenders to play in the EuroLeague. They probably would be playoff contenders in the EuroLeague. And then Morabanc Andorra and Bursa, 2 very unexpected teams to make the semifinals. They will battle on Tuesday.
But I have to say that Virtus Bologna, I know they're continuing their journey. They're already in the semifinals, but I'm a little bit disappointed with their quality.
Yeah, they're not convincing at all.
With the players that they have, I expect them to play a lot better. It sometimes just seems that they don't have a clear game plan. They're just so dependent on shooting and obviously the individual quality that they have, but those teams that they faced in the knockout so far, these wins should have been far easier than they were.
And they
Both
had
were
a
really
lot of
difficult
problems
games.
against Ulm.
Against Ulm, they had a lot of problems, but even against Lietkabelis, it wasn't as easy as we thought it would be. So, I don't know. Right now, Virtus against Valencia, I wouldn't say that Virtus are such clear favorites. I think Valencia have a really good chance of making it to the final. And Valencia, it's their competition, obviously.
They won the EuroCup for 3 times already, or twice, that's for sure.
And once they lost the final to Malaga, I mean, if Valencia is in the competition, it's an easy guess that they will be at least in the semis. And usually during the final.
They're winning EuroCup like every second year.
Yeah.
Every 2 years. Anyway, let's start with the EuroLeague playoffs. We will go through series with game 5s at first. And for Monaco Olympiacos series and those 2 games we saw in Monaco, I just wanted to ask how much Kevin Durant helped Monaco to keep the series alive to force game 5.
Well, first of all, we have to say some good words for the EuroLeague organization that this time they learned their lesson from last year. We're going to have both games on different days.
Of course, it still clashes with the EuroCup games, which is sad because we would really like to enjoy this EuroCup, but they're playing exactly at the same time.
I agree, but what happened last year was the worst scenario. This time, I can accept that. On Tuesday, you have Bayern and Barca. On Wednesday you have Monaco. It's great. Now about KD, it was fun seeing him so excited about the EuroLeague game, and it was probably the best game he could get for EuroLeague to present themselves to such a legendary player like Kevin Durant. I don't know if it's the first game of EuroLeague he ever saw in his life or not.
Live, you mean? Probably, yeah.
In general, I don't know if
I think
if KD
watched some
games, maybe, okay. But yeah, experiencing live, a playoff game, an elimination game for Monaco. His good friend Mike James is there. He was obviously cheering for Monaco and Mike. And everything was there. Some heroic performances, great hustle on the court.
Great plays, great dunks by Donta Hall. I think that he will suggest signing Donta Hall for Brooklyn.
Or Will Thomas for 1 year contract because Will Thomas is a warrior. I mean, Will Thomas is such an underrated player. He's just playoff material. I don't know if there is a coach that wouldn't want to have Will Thomas on his team.
But I would sign him for the playoffs only. Actually,
for the playoff
his
series,
regular season was,
but the greatest,
not so solid.
The greatest players, the true veterans, they know when to step up, and you can see from Will Thomas that he has a lot of fight in him. And I don't have such information, but I'm pretty sure he's one of the most vocal guys in the locker room.
He's not very vocal, but he says something when it's really needed and it's very important. He usually leads by an example.
Yeah.
But when it matters, he can say something.
So Kevin was really excited. You saw all these reactions to Mike James and how he reacted when Lucas didn't make the last shot that could have been a game winner.
How he reacted, I don't remember that one.
He was just celebrating, man. He was throwing punches and
because although he was actually clapping for both teams, one of my friends, Kostas Melais from Greece, he was in attendance and he saw that he was clapping both ways because he was enjoying
appreciating
the game.
Good basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Because it was a good competitive fight.
He got to see the legendary Greek players, first of all, Kostas Lukas and his super smart basketball, how calm he is in the crucial moments. I know he made a turnover in one of the most important possessions at the end, but then he was hitting some very important shots. He was leading the team.
Mustafa Fall was destroying the baskets in the beginning with some crazy plays.
Defensive performances at the same time. You saw players giving it all on the court. Dwayne Bacon, if we're talking about players that could get signed by NBA teams, I mean, Dwayne Bacon in ISO situations. Kostas Papanikolaou really had to suffer. Kostas Papanikolaou was doing a good job on defense, but it's just the case of good defense, better offense, because Dwayne Bacon in ISO, sometimes he's just unstoppable. And that last bucket, you're expecting Mike James to make the last play, right? But Mike was kind of cold.
He was 1 from 10
3-pointers, although I'm not looking at the numbers because there were some shots at the last second of the quarter from half court. Of course, it ruins your stats, but it doesn't
It seemed like Mike wanted to give an impression for KD shooting these logo 3-pointers.
No, I mean, he took only one, and when he takes a shot with...
No, I'm just kidding, of course. Although I think that in defense, that was the biggest effort I've saw in a while from Mike James.
And he saved himself from foul trouble, which was a problem in game 3. So, still, you're expecting that Mike James has to make the last shot. Instead, it's Dwayne Bacon with the ball in his hands. He's feeling so confident. He's just inviting Papanikolaou to a dance. And dribble, and bam, he makes it. Then again, they have the ball, they can close the game, and Dwayne Bacon, I think he rushes the last shot of one leg fade away. He didn't need to do that. There was like 14 or 15 seconds still left, and Oli had the final word. They tried to use the mismatch in the paint. The ball was sent to Mustafa Fall. Mike James was underneath him, but Fall, it was kind of an awkward pass to him. He couldn't make a layup, so he had to pass it back to Slukas, and then it was a coin flip, as I say. So really, for Kevin Durant, it should have been a great experience, and I really hope that Kevin visits the Peace and Friendship Stadium for the Game 5.
What is interesting that, at least from what I heard, that he enjoyed that game in Monaco so much, and of course now he has no plans in May, which is not very usual for him, but anyway, he enjoyed that game in Monaco so much that he really seriously considers the possibility to go to Athens to watch that game, and it would be an amazing thing for the EuroLeague, because probably that's the best promotion you can get, and that's the best game you can bring the NBA star to. We will have this sold out crowd in Peace and Friendship Stadium with 12,000 crazy fans of Olympiacos. I mean, we saw what they did in the beginning of the playoffs, and that was the best example what the EuroLeague playoffs is really all about. So you will bring Kevin Durant in the middle of the court, surrounded by these amazing fans in a decisive Game 5, where it's actually very hard to predict, who will win that game. So it's great. It's really great.
I don't know if it's that hard to predict, honestly.
You still go with Olympiacos for sure, right?
I have to go with them. They've lost at home only twice this season, and already once in this series. I cannot underestimate Monaco. They're not afraid of anything, but watching all the games in the series, in most of them, probably in all of them, at some point Olympiacos have a double-digit lead.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes they blow it, sometimes they don't, but the point is, usually they are in control, and Monaco is chasing them and trying to catch them. Game 2 is the only different story, but if we watch and remember both games that happened in Monaco, the Game 3 and Game 4. The first half is actually the same.
Yeah.
Olympiacos are going to the halftime with a 4-point lead. Mike James is getting points from the foul line, not so much from his jump shots, because these are difficult contested shots.
Yeah, Volkov is doing an amazing job.
Volkov and all the others are also.
Yeah.
I saw some switches with foul, and foul actually
is great on
stopping
switching.
Mike James after a switch. So it was kind of similar. The difference was the third quarter. In Game 3, Olympiacos broke the game in the third quarter. They got a 15-point lead, and after Bacon's unsportsmanlike foul, I really thought it was over. But Monaco somehow found a way back, with Paris Lee hitting some shots in the fourth quarter. Again, Will Thomas making big plays. The second chance points, I think this is where Oli suffered, giving away offensive rebounds to Donta Hall, Will Thomas, and all these other guys. And in the Game 4, third quarter was different. Monaco got the lead. Monaco got some big plays from Will Thomas. But in the end, both games were really close. The difference was, in the third game, Mike James fouled out. There were some not so smart decisions from Monaco's side, sending Vezenkov and Slukas and Walkup to the line, with Westerman missing a left-handed layup that could have changed the game and saved the game, and they lose. Game 4, they managed to find a way with Dwayne Bacon hitting a shot, winning the game, but still, Olympiacos were really close. At some point, after Slukas hitting one of his three-pointers, you kind of felt that this game is again coming to them. They have more championship experience. They have these great players with strong characters, and they should take it, but Monaco saved themselves. They saved the series. And really, something that is extraordinary happened in this game. Mike James played 39 minutes and 42 seconds. Very rarely you see a EuroLeague game where the star player is not getting substituted at all. He played a full game. And you cannot say he was saving himself.
No.
He was playing like it's the last game of the season.
Game. That's exactly what it was. But yeah, as you mentioned, the way Dwayne Bacon was super important in this series so far. He's in the regular season, okay, he was making shots, but he was not so efficient. In the playoffs, I see him being more efficient, although nothing really changes. He's just making his own shots and doing it at great percentages of like making 53% of 2-pointers and 45 of 3-pointers, averaging almost 16 points per game in 26 minutes. But what you mentioned in the beginning, saying that Will Thomas, probably he's an X factor of this series. I mean, the way he was hustling in all game, the way he was getting all these offensive rebounds, making important shots, and especially 3 points in the decisive moments of the game, and especially in Monaco, he was just perfect, averaging 15.5 points and 6 rebounds per game with all these blocks, steals. He even did this chase down block on Shaq McKissick. I mean, who could ever have thought that Will Thomas can still fly that high? No, he really can.
I don't think it was about flying high. It was just about timing.
Oh, it was still hard. I mean, it was a fast break play. Yeah,
I know it was hard, but it's not like Will Thomas got really high in the air. It was just timing because Shaq McKissick got the ball like this, and
it's reading the situation. The matter of reading the situation.
Put the ball out of his hands. It was a great play, obviously. And Dwayne Bacon, he's playing some minutes in the 4th position, actually.
Yeah, that's what happened in game 2, that they made a switch of playing 4 guards against Olympiacos. And he usually matches up with Vezenkov.
The matchup against Vezenkov is not good for him. Vezenkov is not a post-up player, but in that last...
In defense, you mean?
Yes, of course, in defense.
No, he was great.
Because Vezenkov is not a post-up player. But in the last game, Vezenkov had 2 easy post-ups against Bacon that he finished with... left-handed semi-hook shots, and you can see why Will Thomas is so important, and he has to play 33, 34 minutes. I don't know, Brock Modem in this series, he's just playing sporadic minutes,
he's a non-factor,
like 1 or 2 minutes per game. Danilo Andjušić was a guy that stepped up in game 2. Now at home, he just couldn't hit anything. He was wide open on so many occasions, he just couldn't hit any of his shots. He's a 44% three-point shooter, and they really need him to make those shots because Monaco actually, in both games at home, struggled with three-point shooting, even though they created a lot of opportunities. Mike James was throwing the ball to his teammates in good positions. They just couldn't make those shots. And Olympiacos, on the other side, they suffered from missed free throws. They missed so many free throws in both games.
Yeah, which is not so usual.
It's really unusual. Yeah. Even Mustafa Fall, you cannot say he's a bad free throw shooter. He's close to like 70%.
They were making like 77% free throws this year, and now they're missing almost 10 every game. That's very unusual, and that's very important for Olympiacos because we saw these games ending by like 2 points.
Fall missed the free throws. Jean-Charles missed free throws.
Walkup, like 3 in a row.
Even Walkups, Lucas, and Dorsey missed free throws. Again, Dorsey, what happened with him?
Somebody tell Dorsey to forget this Josh Childress look because it doesn't bring success to Olympiacos.
So
that's
many
for
open
sure.
looks. So many open looks. Maybe they could have closed the series if Tyler Dorsey was hitting his shots. He was wide open. And in moments it looked like it's not Dorsey, it's McKissick shooting the ball.
He was 1 from 7 in game 4.
Monaco was willing to give McKissick 3-pointers.
Yeah.
They're risking on defense. Very often you see, I mean, when Fall is in the paint, the help comes from the weak side, and they're leaving Walkup or McKissick in the corner, and they're living with those shots. Even Papanikolaou in some occasions, and he was making shots, especially in the beginning of the game 4. But Dorsey, if you look at the numbers, he's not a guy you want to leave open.
That's true.
He's not a guy you want to see shooting the ball. And he was wide open all the time and couldn't make anything, only 1 3-pointer. It's very different when you compare, let's say, Mike James is 1 from 10. But these are difficult shots, most of them. Very difficult shots. He has to work for them. And in general, I don't care about his percentages. Mike James played a hell of a game in game 4. He was leading the team.
He was way better than in game 3 because not only he avoided these fouls, although I think that he got 2 quick fouls. I just don't remember now in game 3 or 4. But
in game 3, 2 quick fouls. And then he fouled out
in the end with some stupid foul.
Gambling. Gambling on defense.
But usually these gamble situations, they don't end up very well. Yeah.
When you're gambling like this, you're going for a steal. You're going
like
into the passing lane.
25 against 75, really.
I would say it's like 10 against 90 more.
Yeah. It's like some fake effort.
Usually you're going to be punished. If it's not a foul, then
It's
you're
open
just behind your opponent, and he has the opportunity for a fast break.
But the difference I saw in Game 4 was that Mike James was way better in sharing the ball. He was finding his open teammates on the corners, for example. In Game 3, he was trying to do everything by himself. Although he had like a lot of assists. I just don't remember 8 assists in which game.
8 assists in 4th game, I think.
In 4th game, okay. No, he actually made 8 assists in Game 3 as well. And in Game 4, he had 4, but that's what it is about stats. It doesn't show the real picture, because in Game 4 he was way better in distributing the ball, just like Bacon.
Dishing assists to his teammates. There's no such term in basketball like expected assist, but if you look at the opportunities Mike James creates in Game 4,
double teams, triple teams,
he has 4 assists only. But so many wide open shots created for his teammates. If those go in, you easily have 8 or 10 assists. And Olympiacos throughout the series, Thomas Walkup, it starts from him, but the other guys as well, they're doing a good job on defense against Mike James. They're not allowing him to go to his right hand a lot. Now, another task for them, on top of that, limit his free throws. He's making all of them, and that's too much. If Mike James is having 10 or 8 free throws in a game, it's too much. You cannot foul Mike James on a jump shot. It's happening too often. And I think
it's easy to say, but he always tries to use the advantage. Yeah.
Everything is easy to say for me when I'm sitting here and I don't have to be on that court.
Exactly.
Everything is easy, but those are the things you need to point out to
These
your,
are small
to your
details
team if you're the
which
coach.
leads to the final results.
Yes.
And what I wanted to add about Olympiacos. Oh, by the way, we're talking about Game 5 right now, but if I remember well, usually when you end up in a game ejected, at least in Lithuania, at least in FIBA competitions, I thought that it was like the automatical suspension for the following game, no? If it's like a clear sent off, not like one technical foul and the second one.
What you're leaning to?
That Dwayne Bacon highlight situation with Kostas Papanikolaou, I was really mad.
The choke?
He took the guy on his neck and threw him down on the floor, and he got technical foul. Or no, it was unsportsmanlike foul.
Technical foul was to Kostas, and
which was
sportsmanlike to Dwayne.
What the hell was that all about? But anyway, he got unsportsmanlike foul for grabbing somebody on his neck, throwing down, and it was very aggressive. And it was a bad play.
I don't know
about
that.
And on the other end, we saw Slukas getting some stupid unsportsmanlike foul against Piraeus. That was about nothing. So I was really surprised. And for example, if that rule applies, I tried to check on Google what's the situation with the EuroLeague, if you're suspended for the following game or not. But if Bacon was ejected in Game 3, I mean, maybe we wouldn't be even talking about Game 5.
I'm not so sure if you get that 1 game suspension, honestly. It's not.
At least in Lithuania, that's how it goes.
It's not a red card in football, but yeah, maybe. Anyways, Alpha Diallo is missing, a very important player for Monaco.
Yeah.
We saw him with the cap. It says GOAT when Kevin Durant visited. I don't know.
That's a statement for Kevin Durant? It has to be something.
Maybe he's a huge LeBron James fan and he just wanted to show off in front of Kevin. I don't know. But he's missing this series, missing very important games. Olympiacos, they're missing Hassan Martin, and let's not say that it's not important. It's very important. Hassan Martin is a great backup center for switch-all defense. He's amazing, and he's obviously better than Olivier Jean-Charles, although Jean-Charles has his moments, but we saw that in 1 game, Foul had to play like 34 minutes. Bartzokas, I think he kind of hesitates whether to trust Jean-Charles for more minutes or not. And if he had Hassan Martin healthy, there would be no problems with the rotations at all at the center position. So the same goes for Monaco, obviously, because Alpha Diallo is sort of a glue guy that does a lot of things for this team on defense and on offense as well. So both teams are missing important players, which is why Sasha Djordjevic is starting games with Jakuba Autara, for his defensive presence, to make some fouls, to be physical, to play 8 or 9 solid minutes defensively.
Let's go with Bayern-Barcelona series. So, okay, our conclusion. Olympiacos in Game 5.
Ollie should take it at home. They should use their home court advantage, but I expect a good game. I hope that Monaco will manage to find ways to stay close and
They're
make
fighters.
it
We have to recognize them as fighters. They were
stepped
down
up
by
from
double
the regular
digits.
season, because when I watched them in the regular season, they were using their quality, their talent. They made the playoffs, but I had some doubts in my head whether they have this extra spice going in the playoffs. All these guys, they're realizing that playoffs demands more from you, and everybody's stepping up.
Yeah.
Even Dwayne Bacon, for example, I was criticizing his decision making in some regular season games. He's so focused right now.
Yeah, he's way more focused when he was
As Mike
before.
James said on the TV interview, we talked with Wayne, and we said that if we're going down, we're gonna go down with a fight. And you can see that fight.
Yeah,
I
they're
appreciate everything they're doing. And I appreciate not only Monaco players stepping up. Thomas Walkup, we didn't mention this. In the regular season, what were his numbers shooting
I think that he was
percentages?
making around 11% of three-pointers, something like that.
Even lower?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Now he's playing the way he was playing for Šaras in Zalgiris. In Game 3, he was the MVP. He was the best player of the game.
He makes a good case for being MVP of the series, both trying to contain Mike James and really providing good numbers offensively. I will just check quickly his averages in the regular season, which was 5.4 points per game on 23% of three-point shooting.
Yeah.
And now in the playoffs, he's finally making those shots. His average is 9.8 on 39% of three-point
And also
shooting.
assists. He's a creator.
Yeah, he's making 4 assists per game, which is even more than Kostas Lukas. And he's containing Mike James on the other end.
You could have a case for him being the series MVP, but for me, it's still all about Lukas. I mean, Kostas Lukas is as close to a point guard as you can get in Europe. I'm not comparing him to Chris Paul, but really, Lukas is one of those classical European point guards that just run the show and you trust them in the final moments. When he released the ball for the last shot, I really thought it's going to go in. Kostas Lukas made so many clutch shots in Olympiacos history. We just don't remember them because they're being shadowed by Vasilis Panoulis making even more clutch shots.
That's true.
Yeah, and Printezis also being a part of it.
Yeah, and Mike James is averaging 16 points in the series on 40% two-point and 29% three-point shooting, dishing out 4.8 assists and making 2.3 turnovers.
So still, the conclusion is that Olympiacos should make it to the Final Four, but just respect for Monaco. As Mike James tweeted, it was his only tweet about the series. It's only fair that this goes to Game 5 because these are two great teams fighting each other.
That was an amazing tweet, really.
Yeah.
Very, very good point of him. I just think that it's the matter of handling the pressure for Olympiacos, and I've heard that Bartzokas is doing everything, to cool his players down because, just as you said, they controlled mostly all of these games. They were always having this upper hand. Then they're playing at home with great fans behind. They lost 2 games over there only. They're playing solid all-around basketball, so they have all the qualities to close the series in winning this.
Okay, so now I'm gonna let you talk a little bit more because I have to be honest. Bayern, Barca, I didn't see the last game, the Game 4, and I was thinking about watching the replay of the game, but when I saw 59-52 scoreline, I thought to myself,
"Yeah, that was the lowest scoring EuroLeague game ever." Okay, they tied their lowest scoring EuroLeague game ever. I mean, Barcelona, that was the lowest scoring playoff game for them in the EuroLeague history. But really, personally, to be honest, for me, it's pretty hard to say anything interesting except from that. I mean, if Barcelona goes in their full speed and their full focus, Bayern, more or less, they don't have a lot of chances to compete. They compete because they're fighters. They never surrender. But, I mean, Barca, they have advantages in every position, talent-wise, depth-wise, energy-wise, because they're having so many good players and they can save some energy in the ACB, for example, but still win games on solid margins. But it's just as Andrea Trinchieri said that he's never saw so inconsistent series with all 4 games being, let's say, so radical. The average margin of the series so far is like 10 points. Teams are winning by average of more than 10 points. And both in game 2, both in game 4, Barca was just off. And I just can repeat what Charas is repeating all the time. They were not playing smart, both offensively or defensively. They were out-hustled by Bayern. And when they were missing some good shots, Bayern, they were making tough shots. So it's really simple. But this is the situation where we just have to give credit for Bayern and what they were doing throughout this series. Making the playoffs was already overachievement. Winning 1 game in Barca was already exceeding all the expectations. Forcing the series to game 5. Wow. This is some serious shit, actually. Yeah.
I'm gonna be strict. As I said, I didn't see the game, so I might sound a little bit stupid. But in my eyes, finishing on 52 points with Kalates, Mirotic, Exum, and so much talent is actually a criminal offense against basketball.
Yeah, that's true.
Brandon Davis, all these. I mean, how on earth can you end up with 52 points? I appreciate a lot what Andrea Trinchieri is doing and his genius game plan and everything, but this team is just too talented to finish any game of basketball with 52 points.
9 from 23 in 2-point shooting and 5 from 29 3-point shooting.
It's terrible.
These numbers.
Terrible. They shouldn't be in the position they are right now, but they had a game 5 last year. They couldn't close the series in St. Petersburg as well, and
they were in the same situation in the ACB playoffs against Tenerife and Badalona. I really forgot that.
But you're still expecting that they're going to get a relatively easy win at home and go to the Final Four. It really doesn't matter how you reach the Final Four. Yeah. What matters is you're there. So they should do it, but I'm surprised that the series is coming back to Barcelona. I saw game 3, for example. Barca won it. Bayern was still competing in that game, but Barca was better from the beginning. But I'm so impressed with Nick Weiler-Babb. My God, what a job he's doing defensively. And right now he's running the show actually as a point guard because they don't have a lot of options without Walden, without Hilliard. And Weiler-Babb is just playing some amazing basketball.
There are 2 important things to mention. Weiler-Babb, by the way, the last game, he scored 12 points. He had 8 rebounds, 4 assists, only in 21 minutes.
All-around performance.
And he was like playing not even his full speed. It seemed like the Trinchieri was saving him for not only the Sunday's German BBL game, but for the game 5. But there are 2 things to mention. The best thing for Bayern is that they are nearing the extension with Nick Weiler-Babb. And we see him as the primary ball handler, let's say, quite by a coincidence, because if they had Walden healthy, Hilliard, it would be different. But from what I've heard, Bayern look at him as their future main point guard, which is very intriguing to watch how he will use this opportunity. Of course, it's funny because when he was playing in Ludwigsburg, he was playing as a power forward and competing against Danilo Bartel, what was crazy. In NCAA and in college, he was a point guard, so it took some time for him to adjust to this European basketball, and it's really not easy to be the point guard for coach like Andrea Trinchieri. And I like him because he's the biggest defensive impact maker in the EuroLeague, and at the same time, with some time, he will for sure improve with his shot making and at the same time creating for others. The best thing is that he is not score first guy. He doesn't look for ways to score. He wants to involve others into the offense. So I think that he will be okay with these point guard duties. If you can add,
so far we've known him as an elite stopper.
Yeah,
with limited offensive talents, let's say, and now we're seeing his playmaking abilities. So it's a good time for Bayern to sign a contract extension because, some clubs might not look at him because of the stats. I mean, he's an elite defender, but usually the biggest clubs in Europe, they want...
He's not aggressive.
They want two-way players.
Yeah.
And now when he's adding all these numbers and playmaking, a lot of teams should look at him thinking, wow.
For example, if I was Maccabi GM...
He has such a huge potential.
I would really like to have Babb next to Wilbekin if I continue with Wilbekin.
But if Bayern have a project for him to be the point guard, I want him to stay there. I want to see his full potential, what he's capable of. So next season should be very important for him. And this series just shows what he can do on the court.
The next thing is probably very painful for Zalgiris fans, because from what I've heard, Zalgiris was basically, it was season 2019 and 20. And for summer 2020, Zalgiris was basically choosing between him and Steve Asturia. So
Jesus Christ.
I liked your reaction. I saw that pain in your eyes, in your soul, actually. And they end up signing Vasturia very early in the season. So Babb went to Munich. He spent there 2 quality years. He improved a lot, and now he is their future main point guard of the team.
It's like drafting Greg Oden over Kevin Durant.
That's a very good comparison. Maybe a different ceiling, but very good comparison.
Yeah. Oh man.
So yeah, that's the saddest part of Weiler-Babb success story in Bayern.
Oh my God, I'm just looking at these stat sheets. Trinchieri is dragging the series to Game 5 with Shishko, Djedovic, Obst.
Radošević playing an important role.
These are
Schilling coming off the bench in the second quarter, scoring 4 points.
These are role players. These are role players. Some of them are even bench players. Wow. And as Vladimir Lucic said, these are 2 of the best European coaches facing each other. We should agree on that, right?
Yeah, that's completely true. The next question I had, just to add something about Bayern, as I said, I had the interview with Marko Pesic, and this interview will be published probably on Tuesday. 1 hour long interview. He said a lot of interesting things about how they see this project, just like, this famous quote from the movie Moneyball, that if you play in this room like Yankees, you will lose them on the field the same way. So they have to think out of the box to do some different decisions to create such an environment to keep these players, although they're getting way bigger offers in other teams. And that's what Marko Pesic explained me. And he also said what was interesting, that he also said that they're building the new gym, which should be ready to accommodate Bayern Munich team, not during the next season, but season 2023-24. It will have around capacity of 12,000 people. And he said some cool things, which is for sure, we're talking about probably the most innovative arena in Europe we have. For example, I was so surprised that as a not only season ticket holder, but if you will buy a ticket for Bayern's game, for Bayern's future games, like 1 hour and a half before, you will get the GPS advices how to reach the arena and to avoid the traffic. You will see the seat on arena map on your mobile phone, and you can even pre-order some stuff like food or some drinks for the game time.
The NBA is coming to Europe
exactly
10 years later.
And although it will be the arena for hockey team as well, it will be so innovative that like almost like clicking one button in 6 hours, it will change. These stands will move to make it as a basketball arena. There won't be, such a huge gaps between the court and stands, how it usually is with the ice hockey and basketball arenas, let's say. So a lot of cool things are coming, which will help Bayern to grow financially, because still so far they cannot compete with a lot of powerhouses, offering these contracts and keeping their players. Although extension with Lucic, extension with Babb is a huge recognition for Bayern Munich, because all these players can get way more money in other clubs, but they appreciate what's other things they can offer. Great environment inside the team, great player development, amazing medical facilities. We know that during the off-season, even Kobe Bryant was often coming to Munich, or LeBron James is coming to Munich, to do some things to keep their body healthy for the season. They're providing a lot of support for families, for kids. I mean, Munich is a great city, one of the best cities in the world, actually, by all these parameters. So that's what Bayern is doing. That's what their culture is all about. For example, I was surprised that Marko Pesic said that probably it was the first day when he came to Munich to work for Bayern. It was in 2011. And in one of he was still in the hotel, and Stefano Hamann, I think that he played for that Bayern Munich team from the beginning, because if you remember, Munich started from the second division.
Yeah.
So Stefano Hamann came and offered Marco, to drive him around with his friend around the city, because Pesic didn't know anything about Munich. He comes to the car, he takes the front seat, and he see Bastian Schweinsteiger as a driver. And Schweinsteiger, for 3 hours, he was driving him through the, let's say, best places of Munich, telling him, where's the kindergarten or school, where he likes to bring his family, where he likes to go to, what kind of restaurants, what can Munich offer. And he was just doing, being honest, and trying to be helpful for new, let's say, Bayern family members. And I think that Schweinsteiger was often seen in Bayern's arena during some games. He's a
basketball fan.
Yeah, he's a basketball fan.
Thomas Müller as well is one of the basketball fans.
And we see all these, top Bayern front office people from the football club also coming to these games. So that left him a huge impression, and that's how he sees building the basketball project. And he said that usually in Europe, it's like this. You pay somebody 400,000 euros and to give it back by your performance. And he said that, no, this is our duty to do everything to maximize his potential and to help him, to, let's say, succeed that worth of his contract. So a lot of good examples by Bayern, and it's not surprising why we're seeing all these results, having not only such a smart general manager, but also the great head coach Andrea Trinchieri, amazing, very creative sports director Daniela Baez, and all these people who are working for the club. Nice. So yeah.
Lots of good words for Bayern, but obviously we're sending Barca to the Final Four.
Yeah, and the only question I have for you, do you have any concerns over, let's say, longer term Barca title hopes? For maybe this series kind of, let's say, gave you any concerns if they can succeed winning the EuroLeague?
Nope, it doesn't have anything to do with it. One thing doesn't really impact the other. Final Four, it's one game. It's El Clasico.
Probably. That's what we anticipate.
Well, I mean, if they go to the Final Four, if they don't go, then there's nothing to talk about. But if they do, it's El Clasico. How many times did they beat Real Madrid in a row?
I think that 12 from 15, and in a row, I don't remember, like 4 or 5.
They won a Copa del Rey final. So I don't see any reason why they shouldn't do it again. And then in the final, it's one game.
Ergin Ataman is already waiting them.
I know that Ergin's waiting. I know that he already knows who are the champions. Basically, it's pointless to even have the Final Four, but let's give it a shot anyway. I don't see any concerns for Barca in longer distance, honestly, because what could be the difficulties? Okay, the Final Four, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It can be decided by one shot. ACB finals in the best of 5 series, I still don't have any arguments for Real Madrid at the moment, even though they did a great job against Maccabi in the best of 5. You have to predict Barca. And I'm not really that concerned.
Yeah,
it happened last season with Zenit.
Yeah.
They still won the semifinal against Milan. They lost, of course, against the great Anadolu Efes team, but it's about getting to the Final Four. It doesn't really matter how you get there.
I agree. And usually at the end of the season, I mean, the way they're winning games is not sexy at all. And even in Lithuania, he has, I'm not just saying haters, but skepticals of the style, the way Barcelona is playing.
52 points with
having
Mirotic,
such talent on offense,
Davis.
as you said, is a criminal. But at the end of the day, we see them winning Copa del Rey, ACB season, and the first year making the EuroLeague finals, then the second year winning Copa del Rey. So let's just wait, for the final picture of the season. But jumping into other series, that's where I already mentioned Ergin Ataman and his crazy statements. He's like Muhammad Ali of basketball. He already said that they're winning back-to-back title, and he's only 2 wins away from winning it. But tell me, are you as convinced about Efes as Mr. Ataman is?
Well, I'm not as convinced as I was, let's say, last year. They're still not playing as good as they did in the championship season. I mean, I would want to see Efes against Milan with their full roster. if everyone's healthy.
And
I
without
think
COVID, just before the playoffs.
without COVID, without injuries, I would like to see a healthy Olympia team against this Anadolu Efes. Because they closed the series at home. They did what I expected from them, but those were difficult games. Even though Milan reached Istanbul with so many injuries, without Nicolo Melli, without Malcolm Delaney, Rodriguez was questionable. He did play. They were really competing, and they found guys stepping up. In game 3, it was Durant Grant. In game 4, it was Gigi Datome out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, he was just scoring points, 21. And they were kind of close to at least winning one game in Istanbul. And game 5 in Mediolanum Forum, who knows what could have happened. So it's a relief, obviously, for Ataman and Anadolu Efes that they made it to the Final Four. They closed the series at home. But both games in Milan were kind of ugly. In both games at home, they didn't really find their rhythm. They had to rely on Tibor Pleiss scoring a bunch of points to actually win.
Tibor Pleiss is the X factor of Efes.
So there's no shame for Messina and the team that they lost the series, knowing all these circumstances. Always, when you're thinking about the playoff series, you're just as a basketball fan so desperate to see both teams playing at their full
equal conditions,
capabilities, with everyone being healthy. So it's just kind of sad what happened with all these important players for Milan. But Anadolu Efes repeating the title run, why not? It's the Final Four, as I said. You need to win 2 games. Yeah. Ataman is right. But I still think they were better last season than they are right now. I still think they played better basketball. But as a 6th seed, you go to the Final Four, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, and they have this backcourt superstar level talent with Vasilij Micic and Shane Larkin, and with these superstars, you can expect any results.
They would love to see Monaco probably winning the series. I think Olympiacos is a more difficult matchup for Efes because they have Walkup and all the others.
Potential lockdown.
They're shown
defenders.
that they can defend very well against elite players. So I think Ataman would prefer to have an open game with Monaco.
Could be.
But he's not in a position to choose.
He's already confident that whatever it goes to the semifinal, he will win it.
Anyway, they're in the Final Four, so you could say they already saved the season. Because the huge question was, will they make it to the playoffs at all?
It was a small question, but the Final Four was a huge question.
With the Russian teams involved, it was a big question.
Yeah, okay. They were a borderline playoff team.
After the decision was made, it was more obvious that they are making it to the playoffs. But then again, you were thinking, are they going to be the 5th seed? Are they going to be the 6th seed? Who are they going to face in the playoff series? And they, let's say, faced Milan at the best possible time.
And for the worst possible time.
Time for Messina. It's a pity, really. We could have had a great 5-game series. Of course, better team won. Of course, they were better. You have to say that.
The main thing about their championship hope is that it would be funny to see them winning with these superstars, the backcourt. In any situation, they still deserve to win it. But at the same time, it would be so unfair. I mean, just as we talked, I mean, being a borderline playoff team, more or less for the 2nd year in a row, basically wasting this regular season. I mean, Efes winning the title would be so unfair for the regular season and for all the competition before the Final Four, really. Last year already, it was some kind of an exception, them just sleeping for the almost full regular season. Now it was even worse. Yeah. There was even no quality. Less quality than it was last year. And personally, I believe that there's more chance that they will lose it when win it, because just as we talked last year, except from Larkin and Micic, they had Kruno Simon. He was averaging 9 points in the playoffs. Even Singleton stepped up, 8 points. Bobois, he was 15 point per game player in the playoffs. Now Bobois was injured. He almost didn't even play just in the beginning of the series, and I think that his performance index rating was 2 combined. Then we had Kruno Simon. I think he was -1. Singleton, He combined for 13 performance index rating, and Ply stepped up. He was averaging around 13 points, and especially in the game in 3 and 4, he scored 17 and then 25. He became something like a Sertac Shanli of the last year's Efes, and he was super important, stretching the floor. He made a lot of 3-pointers in the series. But other than that, except from these three guys, nobody else scored at least more than 5 points per game, and they're really lacking of this supporting cast for Micic and Larkin.
But you have to say that they played without Boboa both games.
Boboa should be healthy for the Final Four, but still, Final Four is going to be organized earlier, and let's see how he will recover from that injury. But anyway, even Boboa is not as solid as he was last year. So I fully agree with Shares being angry at his players and having to cope with this Game 5, because as he said, that guys don't realize what kind of opportunity they have, because in my eyes this Final Four will be weaker than the last year's Final Four. Efes is not as talented. Real, past few months they had so many problems. Olympiacos, okay, they're more solid.
They're not there yet.
But they're not there yet. Yeah, Monaco is a different beast. And, compared to what they had last year, a very super solid Efes team. Milan was healthy. They had Kevin Punter. They put Barcelona on heels. And then, CSKA is always a very dangerous opponent. I think that's what Sharas actually had in his mind, that this is a golden opportunity to finally win it. Not just because they were the best team in the regular season, but the competition is different than it was last year.
Anyway, I have to give credit to Vasa Micic. He was playing hurt in the first 2 games in Milan. He was not himself. In both games at home, he was really consistent. Shane Larkin, for example, he was kind of off in Game 3, but then in Game 4, again, he stepped up with his shooting. He was playing a lot of minutes. In both games, he averaged 37 minutes. That's a lot. But Vasa Micic was really very consistent, as I said. Tibor Plyce being the difference maker. Ataman found some solutions, decisions, and Plyce averaging 21 points per 2 games. It just shows what really size can do when you at the same time have shooting skills.
Yeah.
Milan is a team that usually plays these small lineups, and it could be a nightmare when a giant like Tibor Plyce starts making shots from the paint, also shooting his 3-pointers, and Tibor was really amazing in both of these games. But I'm still showing a lot of respect to Milan. They competed, they were close, they went there believing that they can actually steal one game and bring the series back to Mediolanum Forum. And there's no shame in losing the way they did.
No,
they deserve a lot of respect.
Both games great. Game 3.
I know it's frustrating when you're the 3rd seed. You have
of course, it's frustrating with all the
you lose the playoff
consequences
series, but
of the
it
injuries.
is what it is. I think they can rebuild and next season be even better, because this year Milan, maybe they made some mistakes with some signings. They
focused on depth, but at the same time, in the crucial moments of the season, they were lacking of star power at the backcourt, especially.
Some quality, definitely, because they were so dependent on Devon Hall.
And Shields.
Shields, right?
And Shields on his one-on-one game, and he missed all these shots in Game 4.
Bring Kevin Punter in this picture, and it's a different ball game.
Yeah, it could have been a different game, because, for example, that's what happened in Game 3. The game was tied with less than 4 minutes to play. Then Shane Larkin scores 8 points.
Anyway,
that's it. I mean, that's what decides the playoff games in these tie series.
Anyway, what we're hearing is that they're already building for the future. They're
true.
already signing Kevin Pangos.
Yep.
And there are rumors about Brandon Davis.
Yep.
So
that's a 2 super.
It should be an
moves.
easy rebuild, because obviously they have money. There are some veterans on this team. Let's be realistic. Some of them should leave the team after the season. So signings like Pangos, Davis, this is instant success in the EuroLeague. These are proven players.
And they're adding these pieces that they were kind of missing. Okay, they had Chacha and Delaney, but Chacha is aging. Delaney, he also said that it was his last full season in Europe, so they needed some fresh legs. Kevin Pangos, before he left for the NBA, he was arguably the best point guard after Vasilij Micic in the EuroLeague.
True point general.
Yeah.
True floor general, I mean.
But as he can decide games by himself as well. We saw all these, ISO moves playing for Zenit, but he's
and Davis. If you have centers, Davis and Heinz, the things you can do defensively
and offensively, because Davis is probably the best all-around center in the EuroLeague.
He adds a lot of quality on offense with his post moves and everything.
That's what actually Milan were missing. I mean, they were one of the last teams in post-up points this year. And, with Heinz, if Tarzuski is a different story. Now, Davis, Heinz, it's probably the best center lineup you can imagine.
They will need some other moves still. I don't know how the Mitoglu situation will...
Probably he's out.
I think he should be out because it's
doping. It's serious shit.
Yeah. So they will need a power forward. You need to
they have Meli, but
so you need to have a backup for Nicola Meli. You need to have somebody.
And this power forward position is tricky because except from Mirotic, Vezenkov, and Meli, do you see any stars? That's why there are rumors about Johannes Voigtman.
Yeah, so they don't need a superstar.
Yeah.
Nicola Meli is one of their key players. You don't need a superstar. If you sign Voigtman, he can play 4 and 5. In some situations, he can play as a center. He stretches the floor. He's an ideal backup for a guy like Nicola Meli because he has a lot of good quality. So
the thing is that many teams will be looking for the power forward, and that's what's very, very interesting. Because
but since
the market
we're talking about the backup,
narrow.
We're not talking about the main power forward. We're talking about the backup. You can sign Augie Rubit, for example, and he could be a decent backup. Why not?
Could be.
It's going to sound strange, but even a player like Tyler Cavanaugh from Zalgiris could be a good backup. A good backup for Nicola Meli.
Maybe.
You don't need a star. You just need a solid role player.
Yeah, I actually tried to do this list of, potential nice stretch fours, and the list is not really long, but I had also, I was thinking about, give me a second, I just had this list. I even think that Nigel Hayes would be in the conversation with his defensive skills and potential to make the basket if there's no pressure behind the sidelines.
I would love to see Boston Celtics-like team on defensively, for example, with Kyle Hines being the center, Nigel Hayes being a small forward, having also a very tall point guard. You could be... Milan is already the best defensive team in the league this season. And if you add more size, let's say in the third position, more power, they can be even better. Messina basically wins games by defense. Offensively, they're playing very simple. It's just usually ISO basketball. It's very simple offense.
He's putting them in good situations. He has all these tricks.
I'm not saying
he relies individual talent more than before, let's say.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're playing bad, but they're playing simple. Maybe that's the reason why they struggled a little bit in the second part of the season with scoring. They really had problems scoring. But usually it's about the defense, and the general idea for Messina's team right now is brought from the NBA. You need to have size. You need to have players that can switch. You need to have players that are very physical, which is why they're signing Davis, which is why they have Hines. And if you add Nigel Hayes, I wouldn't be surprised if they sign Nigel Hayes as a small forward. And then you play Shields at the second position, and then you say to your opponents, well, good luck. Try and beat us. Yeah.
What do you think about Maccabi and the way they should rebuild if that's actually the case? Because probably there's not a lot to add about this Real series. It was a very disappointing, let's say, performance of Maccabi, the approach for the playoffs. I expected at least one win
at home with all
yeah.
these emotions, maybe one win, but no.
It went just the same like in first two games. It was one-way victory, and it was super terrible. My take choosing, Maccabi or Real Madrid.
A very disappointing series.
I'm kind of not surprised because, I knew that it was a risky move. But I just hope that Maccabi will lose the advantage of bad momentum for Real Madrid. But what they did in the playoffs.
I predicted a 5-game series, even though the outcome was Madrid winning, but it was far from being a 5-game series. I said that Madrid, to win those games, they need to keep Maccabi under 80 points. They did it all 3 times, and on all 3 occasions, Maccabi couldn't keep Madrid under, let's say, 87, 86. So 3 relatively easy wins for Real Madrid. Very poor shooting from Maccabi in game 3 at home. Gershon Yabusele absolutely dominating, once again proving he's top 3 on the power forwards list right now in Europe, alongside Mirotic and Vezenkov.
Yeah.
Rebuild for Maccabi? Well, come on. It starts from the head coach.
That's clear.
After that, you make decisions. And if the head coach, let's say, is Xavi Pascual, he's a coach that knows exactly what he needs.
He's a no-brainer, yes.
Yeah, if he can bring
on the
Xavi,
table, no question.
He's coming in. He already has a clear idea which players he needs, which players he wants to replace, what players he needs to sign. Again, it's one of the options. Xavi, I don't know, they probably should have some other candidates. But right now, it's kind of difficult to talk about rebuilding the roster. The roster itself is not that bad. They just need more depth. They have quality. But it all starts from the coach and his philosophy.
So far in Israeli media, it was reported that basically Xavi and Trinchieri are the top targets of
these
Maccabi.
are very good targets.
These are very good targets. The problem is that if they will be actually available, because Xavi Pascual, he has a long-term contract with Zenit. The thing is that we're not sure if Russian teams will be back to EuroLeague. Probably not. But at least from what I was hearing, that Zenit were ready to bring impossible money just to keep Xavi, because you never know what will happen in 1 year, and to have Xavi in your team working for third or fourth season already, and keeping on track with this great coach, it's the best thing you can do. And if it takes you to put not 1.5 but maybe 2.5 or 3 millions per year, that probably will even make Xavi consider if I should leave or not. So that's still unclear if he will be the free agent because he's under the contract. Mm-hmm. Then we have Trinchieri. Trinchieri is on a contract. He has a contract for the next year with Bayern too. And I thought that Bayern is a team which couldn't do anything with some big clubs coming and paying a buyout and just getting their best pieces out. But from the interview, I was a bit surprised how Marko Pesic was convinced that there's no way, or at least he said that there's no way they will let Trinchieri go, because this is the investment they made. The contract was signed, and we're doing everything in their power to make Trinchieri feel comfortable, and they will help him to, let's say, increase his stock market for the year when his contract will be expiring. And from Pesic's side, I understand. I mean, you can pay Bayern €1 million buyout. What you will do with that buyout? If Trinchieri is out, Xavi is not available, so what? You will have to sign, let's say, less talented coach, and if he will repeat the success, hell no, probably no. Especially with this coaching market, it's really tough. And that's what actually he mentioned about Malcolm Delaney when he was playing for Bayern in season 2013 and 14, I think. Houston Rockets approached Bayern in like March, and they put €1 million buyout for Bayern just to get them free. They said no. They increased the buyout. They still didn't let him go because the transfer deadline was passed, and they said that, hey, listen, Delaney is out. We're not winning the German championship. And even with that kind of money, what we will do? So
this is smart.
So, we have these questions about Trinchieri, about Xavi, and if not them, who else is on the market? I don't know. It's tough.
Well, then,
but the thing
then you need to be creative.
But you cannot stay with this. I mean, with all the respect to Avi Evan, but let's keep what he was doing before, being a player development coach and being the head of scouting department. I mean, he did an amazing job in these couple of months, making a Maccabi a playoff team and using the advantage of the situation. And let's say bringing back belief and confidence in that team, because with Giannis, probably it was the problem that he was too disciplined with this team, and this team didn't need so much discipline, let's say, or they felt bad with this that discipline. With Aveven, it was more free-flowing basketball, and it was a best fit for Maccabi. But going forward, you have to be smart. You have to look for the good strategy solutions. And I'm a firm believer that you cannot achieve anything with a great coach if you're, let's say, mid-level market team as Maccabi is with their money they're spending on salaries net and so far. And they're, on a very close level to Bayern. They can spend more, they can pay for the players more, but still we're talking about this borderline playoff team. And we saw these examples of Zvezda. If you have less money, there's one way how you can compete. Now we're watching this Bayern's example. It's just impossible to put, let's say, coach who you don't feel very confident with and to expect some big results. I mean, the good coaches, they are game changers, and I would start investing from the head coach, and even then I would go with the talent, let's say.
Of course, you must have a good coach. You're not going to have a superstar team. Maccabi right now, they're not in a position to rebuild the team by signing Larkin, Davis, and some other European superstars. So it all starts from the head coach.
But the bigger question is, what do you do with Scottie Wilbekin, for example? He still is on a contract for the next year, but do you feel confident with him as a franchise player?
I'm keeping Scottie, I'm keeping Nunnally, I'm keeping Žižić, I'm keeping Williams. All the others should be reconsidered. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, you let Scottie Wilbekin go. Who's the replacement? Like I said, you're not signing Shane Larkin. So who you're going to replace Scottie Wilbekin with? Another Israeli league player that had some nice stats? It might not work out.
No, you have to be creative, and probably you have to reorganize the understanding how you approach wins.
Well, unless
Maccabi style, I mean, the players were changing, coaches were changing. Okay, Giannis made some adjustments. More or less, always it was very offensive-minded team, and I would really reconsider, the whole approach in this.
Unless a coach like Xavi Pascual has a requirement on his list that Scottie Wilbekin is not the player that he needs, I'm keeping him. He's still a very good player, a very talented player, injury-prone, maybe sometimes inconsistent. And
Wilbekin?
Yeah, Wilbekin.
I think he didn't miss a lot of games. Actually, I think
this season, yeah, but in the previous seasons, he always had those nagging.
I think you're
injuries. In the previous seasons,
he played 35 games this year. Last year, 34. To the COVID season, 26 because it was COVID season, and then 29.
Okay, but
maybe you're
I just
mixing
remember
something.
him all the time twisting his ankle and finishing games
maybe he was not
on one
playing
leg.
his full speed, let's say. Yeah.
Okay, maybe, but anyways, I would keep him. And I mentioned all the other names that I would keep, and then you need to add some quality on the bench. You need a deeper roster. This Maccabi team wasn't really deep. Again, they made the playoffs, but when you watch the series, it looked like they do not belong in the playoffs, to be honest, the way they performed against Real Madrid. So to make the playoffs is one thing, to compete in the playoffs is something different. And a coach like Xavi Pascual could make them competitive. Not only making the playoffs, doesn't matter, 8th seed, 7th seed, 6th seed, whatever. But when you go into the series with Xavi, you know that there will be plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way to letter W. And rebuilding is easier when you have a great coach.
I have big doubts about Scottie Wilbekin. I'm fighting, with myself, thinking about his, let's say, impact on this team.
But okay, you have doubts. It's normal. He's a little bit inconsistent.
There are a lot of things.
Who could be the replacement, realistically?
But that's the problem. You do not need to think about the replacement for Scottie Wilbekin. You have to think about the different approach, how you build your team.
But it's impossible to have a winning team in modern basketball without point guard or the shooting guard being your best players.
Made the playoffs actually with Darren Hilliard being in and out all the season as their main scorer. And they had Lucic, who was very important both on and off the court, and other players. But it was more, let's say, equally talented team.
How can you build a team not starting from a point guard? This is the creator. This is where it all starts from.
That's why I think that Scottie Wilbekin is more of a shooting guard than a point guard. I would like to see him, let's say, more disciplined and better defender next to him if I want to continue with Wilbekin.
Well, then you need a really tall point guard.
Exactly, and we don't have many tall, solid point guards. We just talked about Nick Weiler-Babb. I'm talking about Maccabi money, not like Vasilij Micic style of players, but we had like Weiler-Babb. Maybe there was Thomas Volkov. That's why Maccabi were after him the last summer. Who else? It's Nate Walters was a nice fit to Wilbekin. No, he wasn't that successful probably in Maccabi, but I mean, that kind of player.
I don't think Wilbekin is really a problem here. I'm completely satisfied with how he's playing.
I just think that he's not efficient enough in offense to overcome his defensive drawbacks And with Wilbekin leading the team, you kind of, put yourself in a tunnel of the way you can play. So for Maccabi, it's tough because we put high expectations for Maccabi just because they're Maccabi and of their history. But budget-wise, they're in the middle of the EuroLeague standards. The thing is that in the last 6 years, they made the playoffs only this year, and with the exclusion of 3 Russian teams.
Maccabi, they will always be an American-driven team. I don't remember a Maccabi team that was not investing most of their money to a point guard. Always it was about the point guard, the ball handler. It's not necessarily a point guard, it's a guard, a ball handler, a creator. Every season they had one. Every time they had success, it was about the ball handlers. Tyrese Rice was the last guy that actually led them to the championship and winning the Final Four. I cannot see Maccabi being a team without a very skilled playmaker, point guard, ball handler, whatever, shooter. So Scottie Wilbekin fits the profile, and since, as you said, they're a mid-level budget team, and they're not signing Larkin, they're not signing Pangos, they're not signing Micic, they're not signing any of these superstars in Europe. I think be careful what you wish for, because if you release Scottie Wilbekin and don't replace him with anybody,
you won't find anything as
close
equal
to
as
him. So
close to him. No, it's just the matter of your philosophy, how you build the team.
Let's not overthink this rebuild. I think it's easier than it looks like. I think you just need a deeper roster and a better coach.
Could be. Yeah, I mean, I would give a shot, one more shot for Scotty if there was Xavi Pascalerov, Andrea Trinchieri, because these are the coaches who can, use their advantages to the maximum and, hide all these disadvantages. So that's the next thing. Although, for example, from Wilbekin's perspective, if Larkin is leaving Efes, I think it would be interesting fit next to Vasilij Micic. I really think that he's, let's say, closest skill-wise to Shane Larkin. The level yet, let's wait and see, if he deserves that spot. For sure, Larkin is, in my eyes, is a better player, but playing next to Vasilij Micic in a more winning team, I would really love to see Wilbekin in that kind of role. So for Efes, if Larkin is leaving, that would be, let's say, interesting decision how to replace Larkin.
By saying that Wilbekin is closest skill-wise to Shane Larkin, did you on purpose omit Mike James or what?
Oh, Mike James, yeah. No. Let's say he's top 3 guy or the second most ready after Mike James, because I wish that he would stay in Monaco. That's what I mean, yeah. Okay. Although, as we mentioned before, Mike James and Ergin Ataman would be a hell of the team in one place. So yeah, that's all about Maccabi, right? What about Real Madrid winning? I mean, who could have thought that Real will be the first team who will make the Final Four? Nobody.
Probably Barcelona, in everyone's eyes, was the clear favorite to sweep their opponents.
And this El Clasico, potential El Clasico in the semifinals, one game. You never know. Copa del Rey was a very tough game until Jokubaitis showed up. Jokubaitis now, except from game 1, he's not delivering, let's say. Or he's playing just as probably the average 21-year-old guy would play in the playoff series.
Well, the Real Madrid, they are back. They're back in the Final Four. They're back where they belong. They were used to playing in a Final Four every season. It was kind of strange last year when there was no Real Madrid in the Final Four. And overcoming all these obstacles or all these difficulties, they made it. But honestly, they were so lucky to finish 4th, not 3rd. You got to play Maccabi instead of Efes.
Yeah.
The luck was on their side. I'm not so sure if they could beat Efes in best of 5 right now. But Maccabi, we saw all these advantages they had, and they used them, and they won all 3 games quite comfortably. So, but the Final Four, when you're in the Final Four, experience plays a big part of it. Before the season, I had this crazy prediction. I said Real Madrid will be the champions because as long as they make it to the Final Four with these experienced guys, they will know how to handle the pressure and win a single game. It's kind of difficult to stick with that prediction right now. But again, after the series, they should have their confidence back. they should be happier than they were when they were losing games in EuroLeague, in ACB, and all these Ertel Tompkins situations happened. In one game, they can beat anybody in Europe, let's be real. I mean, Sergio Yul still has it in him to play at least one good game.
Exactly.
Against Maccabi in the closing game, he was great. Actually, in the whole series, he was good. So, you cannot rule out Madrid. I mean, it's easier for them to win the EuroLeague than to win the ACB League because it's a best-of-5 series against Barca, probably. In EuroLeague, you need to win 2 basketball games. One El Clasico and the final against Efes, Oli, or whatever. So, it's easier, actually, to win the EuroLeague for them than the Spanish championship.
Before we end, what do you think? I don't know if you saw it. What do you think about the greatest Maccabi all-time 5 chosen by Maccabi fans on Instagram? So I will start the list with guards.
Go for it.
Or let's say, okay, I'm going from the point guard position. Šarūnas Jasikevičius, Berkovic, Parker, Anthony Parker, Kaspi, and Sforcanitis, Sophocles. What's wrong with you, Maccabi fans?
What the fuck, man?
I was so surprised.
Nikola Vucic had 2 triple doubles in
one of the
EuroLeague.
greatest centers of all time in the EuroLeague history.
Kaspi, what actually did he do?
I don't know. I was so surprised. I was really surprised. I would easily have Vucic and even probably David Blue instead of Kaspi.
I love Sofo, really.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
He's such a nice guy, but Nikola Vucic is in a conversation of being the best center in the modern EuroLeague.
Yeah.
Nikola Vucic.
Is it because he's the GM of the team and that's why fans are angry on him? I don't know.
Maybe.
I have no other explanation.
2 triple doubles.
Crazy. It's the only guy except from Nikolaitis who did the triple-double.
It's impossible in EuroLeague to have a triple-double.
Nikola Jokic of EuroLeague.
It's literally impossible to have a triple-double in the EuroLeague. The man had 2, and on one occasion he was probably close to a quadruple-double or something. I don't know, man.
Easily.
He was such a great center. He was so ahead of his time with these skills. My God.
That's disappointing as their playoff series, I have to say. Really.
Wow.
You can be better than that, Maccabi fans.
I don't get it. Maybe there's a reason behind it. I don't know.
Yeah, so this week, 2 decisive games. Barca, Bayern tomorrow on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we'll have Olympiacos Monaco. Exciting time to be a basketball fan, as I said.
We'll try to follow the EuroCup action at least a little bit. Andorra, Bursaspor are playing tomorrow. On Wednesdays, Valencia, Virtus. Even though these games clash with each other, we'll find a way to at least follow the action a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So see you next week, probably. And thanks all for watching. Rytis Vyšniauskas, Donatas Urbonas. Follow us on BasketNews.com. By the way, our exclusive EuroLeague playoffs partner is NordVPN, fastest VPN services which can unlock, for example, FIBA Champions League games on YouTube channels. Or if you're a Formula 1 fan, you can even use the Belgium or Austrian VPNs, to watch these broadcasts on their Belgium or Austrian TVs who show it on for free. A lot of other good features you will find on nordvpn.com/EuroBonus with a great deal, because monthly price for this subscription is something close to a single cup of coffee. So it's worth it. If you don't like it, there's a 30-day free trial, so you won't regret it. nordvpn.com/EuroBonus. Promo code EuroBonus also gets you some good offers. Thanks and see you soon.